Hi, my name is Jordan Carter and we're back today with another episode of Government Concepts. Today we're going to be talking about the presidency, the powers that the president has, and how his powers have changed and grown over the years. First, we're going to talk about George Washington and the powers that he had. Of all of our presidents, George Washington has the most authority over our government, but gradually those powers were modified by a checks and balances system set in place by our changing government. Currently, the president is allowed to fire any appointee in the executive branch. He has absolute power over every member in the executive branch. He can also reject legislation or veto bills. He also has implied powers, which are powers that are written down in the Constitution. He is also Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Commissioned Officer of the Armed Forces, and grants reprieve and pardons for federal offenses. Now here are some executive powers of the President. He has the power of executing laws, appointing key officials, and executive privilege. Also, the president's foreign policy powers are making treaties, making executive agreements, and the power of diplomatic recognition. On to the president's judicial powers. He has the power to appoint Supreme Court justices, appoint federal judges, and grant reprieves, pardons, and commutations. And now we're on to the president's legislative powers. He has the power to recommend legislation and lobby members of Congress. That's the word. I'm actually going to explain how the presidential powers have changed over the years. It has become a symbol of federal authority, a focus of the U.S. political system, and a representative of the people. It has increased role in foreign affairs, has increased express powers, and has a stronger public presence and role in shaping public interest. In our next section, we are going to be discussing the qualifications in terms of the president. There are certain requirements you must meet in order to become the president. First, you must be a native-born U.S. citizen. Also, you must be at least 35 years of age. You must have been a resident of the U.S. for at least 14 years. Each president can serve for 2 4-year terms. Next is the order of presidential succession, which is if the president dies, who becomes next, and so on. First, if the president dies, obviously his vice president becomes the next president. After him, the Speaker of the House of Representatives. After that, the President Pro Temp of the Senate will become the next president. After that, it goes on to cabinet members in order from their department's establishment.
We done?
Now we are going to be discussing how the presidency has changed. From Kennedy to Obama, the commander-in-chief has steadily expanded presidentially, particularly in foreign policy. The actual constitutional powers of the presidency actually haven't changed since 1789. It has changed tremendously in the fact that most presidents in our past wouldn't even imagine taking the U.S. to war without permission, such as President Wilson or FDR. Now we're going to be discussing a pretty much more broad topic, which is where did the actual presidential powers come from? Some are actually listed in the Constitution, and some are just given to the president just by him actually being the president. First, I'm going to discuss what expressed, implied, and inherent powers mean. An express power is a power that is actually written down by law. It's like written in the Constitution. An implied power is a power that is based upon the express power. And last of all, an inherent power is a natural power. Like I said earlier, when the president just has powers that he automatically gains by being president, that's what an inherent power is. Alright, now we're actually going to discuss where the president gets his powers from. The president gets his power from Congress and the Constitution. He has many powers, which I have listed right here. Let me go ahead and get to it real quick. for joining us today with another episode of Government Concepts. Make sure you tune in next week when we're going to be talking about the legislative branch and possibly the judicial branch.